you're a coach in Chase Center and need to draw up a last-second play. Or you're a fan in Section 212 craving nachos. AI from Google Cloud can help with both. The Warriors are using AI from Google Cloud to break down every move on the court, helping coaches game plan. And for fans, the same AI powers the mobile app, giving you personalized content, highlights, and yes, nachos, ordered from your phone. With AI, you're always in the game, even off the court. Google Cloud, the official AI partner of the Golden State Warriors.
This is Draymond Green. Welcome back to the Warriors broadcast booth, presented by DoorDash.
Tonight, the Dubs made 5 dunks, so $12,500 will be donated by Rakuten to the Warriors Community Foundation as part of the Dunks for Donations program presented by Rakuten. Thank you, Rakuten, and go Warriors. 23 turnovers on the night, bench scoring. Warriors with a 55-33 advantage there. Warriors actually won the battle of the boards as well by 9. Here's our NBC Sports authentic moment of the game.
Warriors with a silly turnover. Wiggins inside, blocked by Santos from behind. The Brazilian whacks that one away as Spencer will take it up, crossing midcourt. On the far wing, here comes Post. Screen set, Spencer to Post. Back cut by Moody, a beauty, and he dunked it with the right hand. Moses Moody with a slam. A little elevation sensation for Moses Moody.
Heat, of course, playing so far this season without Tyler Hero. They were led by Norm Powell, 25 points. Bam Adebayo had 20. Warriors off tomorrow as they fly home to host the Trailblazers on Friday. Good night from Miami. Heat 110, Warriors 96.
Hey, it's Willard, and I'm just going to say it. We need your help. Right now, 1 in 3 people in the Bay Area don't know where their next meal is coming from. Parents skipping dinner so their kids can eat. Seniors choosing between medicine and groceries. In a place this strong, this connected, that shouldn't happen. It can't happen. That's why our friends at Habas Law are teaming up with Martha's Kitchen. Martha's Kitchen provides more than 200,000 meals every month to our neighbors in need. So let's do what the Bay Area does best. Let's show up together. Visit marthas-kitchen.org and donate today. Habas Law, always fighting to make it right.
Hey, Dub Nation. If you're traveling to cheer on the Warriors this season, then the most important thing to pack is the United Airlines app. You can track your bags, change your flight or your seat, get a personalized map of the airport terminal, even talk to a live customer service agent. It's like having a travel agent in the palm of your hand for free. And yeah, that technically makes it a free agent. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United, proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
15 years ago, PG&E launched Power Pathway, an education and job training program developed to increase the number of skilled workers in the energy industry. Since then, 85% of the graduates have been hired by PG&E or the construction utility industry, focusing on students in underserved communities, women, and military veterans. Power Pathway is helping the next generation of PG&E energy professionals build a better future for themselves and a clean energy future for California. To learn more, visit pge.com/powerpathway.
The lights, the crowd, the moment. When the Warriors take the floor, greatness follows. At Cache Creek Casino Resort, every moment shines. Feel the rush as the reels spin. Breathe in our serene spa. Savor each bite in our award-winning steakhouse. And recharge in the comfort of our luxurious hotel. Cache Creek Casino Resort, proud partner of your Golden State Warriors. Please play responsibly.
What's up, Dub Nation? Do you want to get cash back on Warriors gear? All you have to do is sign up at Rakuten.com/Warriors, where you can earn 10% cash back in store and online at Warriors Shop. Once you're a member, shop your favorite stores like Fanatics and Ticketmaster and watch the cash back add up in your account. Rakuten is the most rewarding way for you to shop and maximize your savings. Join Rakuten for free today at Rakuten.com/Warriors or download the Rakuten app. That's RAKUTEN.
Make pet care stress-free with PetMeds, the official partner of the Golden State Warriors. As a trusted national online pharmacy for over 29 years, PetMeds is licensed in all 50 states to support your pet's wellness. We offer a comprehensive range of health solutions for every stage of life, from prescription medications to nutrition and supplements. Visit PetMeds.com and use promo code WARRIORS for 30% off your entire order. PetMeds, empowering you to help your pets live longer, healthier lives.
Hey, Dub Nation. If you're traveling to cheer on the Warriors this season, then the most important thing to pack is the United Airlines app. You can track your bags, change your flight or your seat, get a personalized map of the airport terminal, even talk to a live customer service agent. It's like having a travel agent in the palm of your hand for free. And yeah, that technically makes it a free agent. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United, proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
To Curry, pump fake, flyby, 3-ball. Got it with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-HOOP.
You wish you were here.
This Odyssey Sports broadcast has been brought to you by Geico. Switch and save. Get more with Geico.
All the Heat have to do is cross the timeline. So the Warriors will finish this road trip 3-3. Pretty good road trip for Golden State when you consider everything. The rough schedule, and they've completed this first 17 games of the year with 12 road games and 5 back-to-backs with an above 500 record. And will head home for a series of home games. And they'll be home for a couple weeks and a chance maybe to get well on the home floor and to start pile up some wins.
Yeah, that's Tim Roy wrapping it all up tonight live from Miami where the Warriors fell to the Heat 110-96. Welcome into Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. The 6-game road trip is over and the Warriors go 3-3. If I would have told you a couple of weeks ago a 3-3 road trip, you probably would have taken it. But the way it went, 3-1 through 4, you wanted them to get greedy and win at least one of these two on this back-to-back in Florida, in Orlando last night, in Miami tonight. The Warriors, though, they lose both. Tonight, totally understandable given who was playing and who was not playing. The Warriors tonight without Steph Curry, without Jimmy Butler, without Draymond Green, without Jonathan Kuminga, and without Al Horford. There's some people out there who feel like if everybody was healthy, that might be one of the Warriors' best 5-man lineups. And none of them played tonight. In addition, neither did D'Anthony Melton, who's still yet to make his NBA or his Warrior debut this season. We did get an update on D'Anthony Melton. We will share more of that as we move along here on Warriors Wrap-Up. That update came in from the Warriors earlier today. But the Warriors down all of those players, yet they had a lead going into the fourth quarter. Through 3 quarters, the Warriors were up 74-72, and in fact, they led by 5 late in the third quarter. Then Miami completely dominated the fourth. They outscored the Warriors 38-22 in that fourth. Warriors defense kind of lost their grip on this game in the fourth quarter. Warriors offense also just turned the ball over nearly every possession in that fourth quarter. It was almost an entirely new group of players without Steph, without Jimmy, without Dre, right? Without Al, without JK still. Obviously some guys that play even when everybody is healthy like Moses Moody and like Podziemski and Buddy Hield, but you saw a lot of TJD today. You saw a lot of Quentin Post, more than you normally do. You saw a ton of Pat Spencer, and he was really good in this game. Guy Santos started in this game as well. So you saw some guys you're not used to seeing as expected with all those injuries, yet despite all of those, fresh faces, it was the same problem that has haunted the Warriors for the majority of this season. Warriors committed 23 turnovers tonight, leading to 34 Miami points. Miami turned the ball over 14 times, so they had 9 fewer turnovers than the Warriors, and the Warriors were nowhere near as efficient turning those turnovers into points on their end. Again, 23 Warriors turnovers, 34 Miami points off those turnovers, 14 Miami turnovers, 14 Warriors points off of those turnovers. And really, the Warriors were largely pretty good taking care of the basketball in the first half. And then it completely flipped in the second half. And really, the turning point was the final couple of minutes of the first half. The Warriors had 8 total turnovers in the first half, but 3 of them came in the final 3 minutes of the second quarter. And in fact, it came right after the Warriors tied this game at 43. And it was a long road back to get tied because you blinked and the Warriors were down double digits in this game. The Warriors, they missed Their first 12 shots of this game, they were down 20-4. Their first made field goal for the Warriors came with 5 minutes and 25 seconds left in the first quarter. They were down 20-4, and I think for a lot of Warrior fans out there, and you can let me know, hit me up, give me a call, shoot me a text, 888-957-9570. It felt like this game was over 5 minutes in. And then the Warriors had to battle all the way back, and as I was just talking about, in the final couple of minutes of that second quarter, they managed to tie this game at 43. 43-43 with about 2:40 to go in this basketball game. Then from that point, the turnovers came in bunches. The Warriors turned the ball over on 3 consecutive possessions. Again, right after they tied the game at 43, erased a 16-point deficit that they were chasing for essentially that entire first half. They fought all the way back to tie it at 43, and then they commit turnovers on 3 consecutive possessions. That means they had 5 turnovers through the first 21 minutes of this basketball game. And then the rest of the way, the final 27 minutes, right, the whole second half, and the final 3 minutes of the second quarter, 18 turnovers in the final 27 minutes of this basketball game after just 5 in the first 21 minutes. And some of this is credit Miami, good Heat defense. Some of it also is the Warrior players out there. Honestly, these are not great ball handlers and distributors and creators. That is some of it, but that is not all of what's happening for the Warriors here. So much of what's plaguing the Warriors right now is just terrible decision-making, getting caught up in the air, throwing the ball away, lack of communication or rhythm with teammates, and the Warriors just not playing connected. The number of Buddy Hield turnovers that make you want to rip your hair out, it's there's a lot of them. He committed 4 turnovers today. Let's just run down the list. Turnovers today for the Warriors. Quentin Post committed 5. He was one of the Warriors' better offensive players today. Actually had a good shooting day, 8 for 13 from the field, but 5 turnovers, and I can remember at least 3 of them being really, really bad. So 5 turnovers from Quentin Post. 4 from Buddy Hield, as I just mentioned. 3 from both Podziemski and Moses Moody. 2 from Pat Spencer. 2 from Guy Santos. 1 from both Will Richard and Trace Jackson Davis. And that gets you up to the 21 turnovers by the Warriors that were given to individual players, plus 2 what the NBA calls team turnovers, to get to 23 total turnovers for the Warriors, leading to 34 points. I mean, sometimes basketball is a simple game. Are you going to take care of the basketball? The Warriors did not, and oftentimes, when they do not, they lose. In fact, how about this number? And this is updated to include tonight's basketball game. The Warriors this season, when turning the ball over more times than their opponents, are 2-8. They've turned the ball over more than their opponents in 10 of their first 17 games. They're 2-8 in those games. When they've turned the ball over fewer times than their opponents, they are a perfect 6-0. And when the turnover number is equal for the two teams, the Warriors are 1-0. So you turn the ball over as many times or fewer times than your opponent, 7-0. When you don't, you're 2-8. Sometimes basketball is a simple game, and for the Warriors right now, it's a simple game. And honestly, it doesn't really matter who's playing. No Steph, no Jimmy, no Draymond, no Al, no Kuminga, no Melton. Same problem, turnovers. If you take care of the ball, you will win. If you don't, you will lose. And the fact that the Warriors were legitimately in this basketball game, not just in it, they led through 3 quarters despite not being able to hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, they shot 36% from the field in this game. Through 3 quarters, when they had a lead, they shot 34%. They shot better in the fourth than they did in the first 3 quarters, yet the difference was all those turnovers. 9 turnovers in the fourth quarter alone. The Warriors shot 34% from the field, 28% from deep, yet they led by 2 through 3 quarters. How in the hell is that possible when that's the reality of your offense without Steph, without the cheat code, Jimmy Butler getting to the free throw line? How are you winning that basketball game? Well, tonight, honestly, through three quarters was a really impressive defensive effort from the Warriors. It got away from them in the fourth quarter when Miami shot 52% from the field, 43% from deep in the fourth, and they scored 38 points, by far their highest output of any quarter in this game. They went 29 points, 20 points, 23 points, then 38 points. But through three quarters, the Warriors' defense wasn't perfect. It was not flawless, but it was really good. The Warriors were good defensively through three quarters. They were honestly pretty darn bad offensively through three quarters, but the turnovers weren't absolutely terrible through three quarters. It still wasn't great. 14 turnovers through three. That's too many for Steve Kerr's liking, but it was going to get a whole lot worse. But how the Warriors managed to build a lead, only a 2-point lead, but they did lead by as many as 5 in the final minute of the third quarter, was because they were doing all the small things. They were hustling. They were blocking shots. They were getting offensive rebounds. They were diving on the floor. They were winning a lot of those 50-50 balls. And some of it is maybe, what the Warriors went through in Milwaukee when there was no Giannis, and what they went through in Indiana when there was no, everybody for the Pacers, and they lost those games. You're kind of naturally fighting the human instinct to kind of take your foot off the gas when you're going up against a team that's down their 3, 4, maybe 5 best players. So maybe Miami was battling some of that through three quarters. Then they said, all right, you know what? We want to win this basketball game. We're going to play hard in the fourth quarter. Norman Powell had just 8 points through three quarters, and he finished this game with 25 points, so 17 points in the fourth quarter after just 8 in the first three quarters for Norman Powell. That could be part of it, but I'm going to credit the Warriors and their hustle through three quarters as the main reason why they were in this basketball game and why they had a lead going into the fourth. I thought Pat Spencer came in and immediately changed this basketball game. I thought Guy Santos did good things with his energy, as he tends to do. Let's talk about Pat Spencer. And again, give me a call, shoot me a text, 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. I've also got the YouTube chat open as well, youtube.com/957 The Game. Everything we do on YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Let's scroll through some of the participants here in the chat. I see you, Jim. I see you, F2P. I see you, Empire. I see you, Powers. I see you, No. Mike, I see you, and a handful of others. Apologies if I didn't get to you. I see you in there, and I appreciate you chiming in on YouTube. I thought that Pat Spencer was the best Warrior on the floor tonight. He came in. He did not start this game. The Warriors ran with Podziemski, Will Richard, Moses Moody, Guy Santos, and Trace Jackson Davis. And then they got off to a terrible start. Again, it was 20-4 Miami. 6 minutes in, the Warriors were 0 for 12 from the field to begin this game. Their only points in the first 6.5 minutes of this game were free throws. Their first made field goal was a Buddy Hield drive and layup with 5:25 to go in the first quarter. And then what happened? The Warriors brought Pat Spencer in the game, and the game changed. He checked in with the Warriors down 17-4, so not quite that 20-4 deficit. And the first Miami possession with Spencer on the floor, Norman Powell hit a 3. So Miami led 20-4, fresh after Pat Spencer checked in. Then, with Pat Spencer on the floor, the rest of the first quarter, the Warriors went on a 16-9 run to close that quarter to get within 9 at the end of the first, and he played basically every second in the second quarter as well, and that was a big reason why the Warriors won that quarter by 5 points and were down at halftime by just 4 points. Pat Spencer is a flawed basketball player. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think he should be starting or he should be getting 25 minutes a night for the Warriors, but there is clearly something that he does that no other Warrior does, especially when Steph is out. And when Pat Spencer comes in, the energy changes, the Warriors' ability to create good looks offensively changes, and he just plays with a speed and a quickness the Warriors don't have anywhere else. The Warriors' options when Steph Curry goes out is Brandon Podziemski as your primary ball handler, and he's tasked with trying to create. not just for himself, but for others. And I think ideally he would be creating for others. But given the Warriors' lack of scoring options when you're down Curry and Jimmy Butler specifically, but also Kuminga, you need your, ball handler to score like 20 points for you. And Podziemski tonight ended up finishing with 20 points. It took him 19 shots to do it, and a handful of those points did come in garbage time. I did not think this was a good Podziemski game really at all, at least not given what you need him to be in games and moments like this. I think largely he's a positive player, but in certain aspects and in certain ways and in certain lineups and groupings, if you need him to be the driver of the bus when Steph is out and Jimmy is out and you don't have Kuminga, I don't think that's a role that he is anywhere near close to being able to fulfill. But if you're saying, hey, Pods fit in alongside Curry and Butler and Kuminga and help connect these groups and, play good team defense on the other end and distribute the ball, capitalize off of the space and the way that Steph Curry's presence tilts the floor on the offensive end, I think he is well equipped to be a positive player in that realm. But when you need him to be the creator and the guy driving your offense, he falls short. And that's where Pat Spencer is better. Doesn't mean Pat Spencer is flatly a better basketball player, period, under any circumstance. But when you need somebody to just create an advantage, it's pretty clear that it's Pat Spencer is the Warriors' best option, which is kind of crazy because he's a guy that played lacrosse in college and largely is an unknown across the NBA. And he only gets to play meaningful minutes, again, when there's like an injury exodus like there was tonight for the Warriors. But he came in and he immediately changed the game. The issue with the Warriors without Steph is, obviously you take out your best player, it's going to be a gigantic difference. But the issue with the Warriors without Steph is they don't have anybody that, one, can create the advantage, but can also take advantage of the advantage that was created on offense. Because what happens without Steph, and let's just say that Pat Spencer's not on the floor either, you go out there with your starting lineup of Podziemski, Will Richard, Moses Moody, Guy Santos, and Trayce Jackson-Davis. Who is going to create a shot out of that lineup? Who is going to create a shot out of that lineup? It's not going to be Will Richard. It's a rookie. It's not going to be Moses Moody. That is not his game. He's not an off-the-dribble creating for either himself or somebody else. It's not going to be Guy Santos, and it's certainly not going to be Trayce Jackson-Davis. By default, it has to be Podziemski, but it can't be Podziemski either. He's not quick enough off the dribble. He's not a good enough shooter. When you're not a good enough shooter, the defense doesn't have to play super tight on you along the perimeter. It makes it harder for you to drive and get past your initial guy. That's not Podziemski's strength in the first place either. And then you're just stuck with a bunch of guys who are trying to wait for somebody else to create an advantage offensively that the other player can then take advantage of. Pat Spencer checks in, can drive past his guy, either try to score at the rim or draw the defense, then kick it out. Then you get the ball swinging around. You ultimately get an open look. Whether it goes in or not doesn't really matter. The point is you're getting a better look when Pat Spencer is on the floor because he can drive and create. So specifically without Steph Curry, that stands out to me as a major area of need. And it's why I think whenever Steph is out, Pat Spencer is going to be a guy that has to get minutes, specifically when Steph and Jimmy are out. Now, those are very dire times, and you probably don't expect to win that many basketball games when that happens. But without Steph, also without Kuminga, because Kuminga can create his own shot, maybe not as efficiently or effectively as Steph, because who can, and maybe not as much as Jimmy, although Jimmy does it more so by just like posting up and drawing fouls as opposed to driving past somebody. But there's not a lot of players in this Warriors roster that you just say, all right, with the ball in your hands, I trust you to beat your man one-on-one and then either score at the rim, draw a foul, or kick to an open shooter. That just, there's not many people on this Warriors roster that can do it. Double and Marge on the YouTube chat, youtube.com/957. The game says LJ Cryer. If you don't know LJ Cryer, out of Houston, he's currently on the Warriors G League team, the Santa Cruz Warriors. You might have seen him in Summer League honestly had a pretty good summer league and is doing pretty darn good in the G League so far for the G League Warriors. He is a better off the dribble kind of player, but he's not the savior that's going to turn this Warriors season around. I also think I want to make sure that we're discussing this in the right zip code, because this is a major Warriors issue on nights like tonight when the Warriors went into this game, of course, trying to win, but knowing you're down Steph, knowing you're down Jimmy, knowing you're down Draymond, Al, and Kuminga, and still DeAnthony Melton, you came in knowing all right, we're comfortable making the decision of very likely losing this game tonight to protect our older, more veteran players so that they are healthier for the rest of the season. That was the trade-off the Warriors were making. They were fine. They weren't accepting defeat, and they weren't hoping for a loss, but they were fine with that trade-off. So this is a major issue on nights like tonight when the Warriors are actively okay with losing a basketball game. So I want to make sure we're thinking and talking about this in the right frame of mind, because this is not a problem, in my mind, that demands a gigantic monster trade to address this issue, because this issue is only a major issue when Steph and Jimmy are out and Kuminga is out. Now, can they get... Do they need another ball handler and another creator? Of course, you could always use more of that, and that should be something they're looking for. I'm just not saying it's one that's going to change their fortunes in a gigantic way as long as Steph is healthy. And if Steph isn't healthy, then throw everything out the window, because the season's over at that point anyway. But it was definitely an issue tonight. There's no doubt about it. I mean, one of the takeaways tonight, I think, has to be what Pat Spencer was able to do, but it's also the shortcomings and the limitations of Brandon Podziemski. Podziemski's having a pretty rough third season so far, and a lot of this is on the backs of what he said this offseason, talking about how he wants to be the next face of the Warriors franchise. And once Steph and Draymond and Jimmy are no longer here, he wants to do what it takes to be the guy that kind of gets handed the keys to the organization. I know his comments about if he pursued baseball, he would be, the white Shohei Ohtani is what he said, which is just, frankly, an absurd comment. Those kinds of comments, you get the fan base kind of all at once rolling their eyes, and you follow that sort of stuff up with how he's playing this season, and the response from the fan base, I think, only is exaggerated at that point. If you just kind of stuck to yourself and didn't talk in those crazy goals, then maybe the response wouldn't quite be as drastic. But that's where we are with Podziemski. What he is asked to do without Steph Curry available in a game is just not what he's capable of. He's not that kind of player. And some of that maybe is a roster construction problem. Some of it also probably is a Steve Kerr and a coaching staff issue. You're asking this guy to do something that I don't think he's capable of doing. Now, again, this is in pretty unique circumstances when you're without Steph and you're without Jimmy. But your game plan going into a game without those guys is, all right, Pods, you're the driver of this offense. Let's figure this thing out. That's likely a losing proposition. Now, again, it's probably a losing proposition no matter what. But, nights like tonight against a Miami team that isn't fully healthy, but they got Bam Adebayo back. We know they're down Tyler Hero. He hasn't played all season. And Bam has missed the last, I think, 6 games, but was back today. This is a Miami team that's a quality team. They're 9-6 despite all their injury issues so far this season. This was a good team that you had a lead over through 3 quarters. And if you're just a little bit better here or there, this could have been a win. And tonight could have been an important win. Obviously, you want to win every basketball game, but you start thinking about the season in chunks or in little increments, or you got away with one there, but you gave one away there. Ultimately, you want kind of those breaks to even out if possible. Think back to what happened in Milwaukee, Warriors versus the Bucks without Giannis, and the Warriors in Indiana the next game. Indiana without Halliburton, of course, and a bunch of other key important players. Really, their only starter that played in that game, normal starter, was Pascal Siakam. Aaron Nesmith played as well, but that was about it for Indiana in that game. And you think you should win both of those games. At worst, you should win one of those two games, and the Warriors managed to lose both of them. So you think about that in the back of your head and say, all right, those are games we should have won. There will probably be a game or two throughout the year where we win, where we probably should not have won. And tonight was shaping up to be one of those games. The Warriors should not win this game. They were a double-digit underdog. 10.5 points, I think, was the spread at tip-off. Vegas thought the Heat were 10 or more points better than the Warriors tonight. They ultimately covered. They won by 14. So Vegas was, right in the sense that this was a double-digit difference in terms of the final score of this game. But this was a game the Warriors could have stole, and it would have made the Indiana and Milwaukee results a little easier to swallow because you got one back here. But the Warriors are still kind of in the hole 2 games in those gimmies versus the steals because you haven't really stolen one that you should not have won yet. Maybe you qualify San Antonio as those, but I'm not really talking about close victories where a clutch Steph 3 or whatever it was won you the game, or maybe even Denver comes to mind for you there. I'm talking more so just based on your availability, your injury report going into the game. Should you be able to win this basketball game? The Warriors are 0-2 in games like that so far this year. Milwaukee and Indiana. And this one doesn't count because they were expected to lose and they lost. So you didn't really gain any ground in that sense either. But the Warriors did put up a good fight. They put up a good fight in this one. I mean, how about this? The starting group tonight, and I say starting tonight because a lot of these starters are normally bench players. The starters tonight, Will Richard, Guy Santos, Trace Jackson Davis, Moses Moody, and Brandon Podziemski. That's the starting 5 for the Warriors. The starting 5 scored 41 points on 12 of 43 shooting, which is about 28% from the field. The bench, and there were only 4 bench players that played for the Warriors because so many guys were out and unavailable tonight. GP2, Buddy Hield, Pat Spencer, and Quentin Post. 9 Warriors played tonight. Those were the 4 bench players. GP2, Buddy Hield, Pat Spencer, Quentin Post. The bench scored 55 points compared to 41 points by the starters, and the bench was 22 for 51 from the field. That's 43% from the field, while the starters were 28% from the field. The bench carried the night for the Warriors, and this is like the deep, deep, deep bench, because tonight's starters were made up of 3 normal bench players in Podziemski, Trace Jackson Davis, and Guy Santos. Will Richard and Moses Moody have been starting for the Warriors. They started as well tonight. But even when you include those other guys as starters tonight that are normally bench players, even with those guys qualified as starters, the Warriors bench still dominated and controlled the game for the Warriors when compared to what the starters did. I mean, Quentin Post scored 19 points. Buddy Hield had 18, although it was a very inefficient 18 for Buddy on 20 shots from the field. Pat Spencer wasn't efficient from the field himself, 11 points on 13 shots, but had a double-double and was nearing a triple-double. He had a career-high 8 rebounds and 13 assists to go with 11 points. I thought he was the best Warrior on the floor for the majority of this game tonight. And the Warriors ultimately, they lose this one. Just too many turnovers, 23 turnovers, leading to 34 Miami points. They lose this one. Final score, 110-96. Okay, let's go out to the phones. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. That's also the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. But up first is Jim in St. Louis who wants to weigh in on this Warrior loss. What's up, Jim? You're on Warriors Wrap Up with Mark Randy. What do you got?
Hey, well, that was an interesting game.
Yes, it was, Jim.
The problem is this team, as it is now, is like a 500 team when you include all the regular players too, not just tonight.
You think so, Jim? You think they're just like a 41-41 team if you get relative health?
Well, yeah, that's not going to happen. At that age, there's going to be a lot of games missed, but that's speculation. But I guess my main problem is it feels to me like Kerr doesn't know how to incorporate the younger players into with the big 3.
Okay, I mean, that's on Steve Kerr, or are we going to give some of the blame to the players themselves?
Well, he is in charge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the immediate thing to me is Podziemski shouldn't be playing that many minutes. He should be like a 10 or 12 minutes a game player.
I hear you, Jim. I mean, Podziemski has had a rough beginning to this season. There's no doubt. And, I mean, I think I've spent the majority of the first 30 minutes of Warriors wrap-up tonight talking about Podziemski and his shortcomings and the role that he was asked to fill tonight. And I know I've seen a lot of it on specifically on the YouTube chat, youtube.com/957thegame. I was saying I still believe Pods is largely a positive player when the Warriors roster is healthy, and that he does a lot of the small things that is needed when a lot of the others are doing the heavy lifting. I stand by that. I still think that's true. I know there's a lot of disagreement in the fan base right now, and I saw some of that come through on the YouTube chat. But what I think we can absolutely all agree on is when Podziemski is asked to do more of the heavy lifting, he falls short. And it's as simple as that. Is that on Steve Kerr? Or is it on the player at a certain point? I mean, Podziemski had a hell of a rookie season. He had many, many great stretches. Great might be too strong of a word. He had many pretty damn good stretches at times last year in his second year in the league. I haven't seen much of an improvement. Now, if this continues for a long stretch, will at a certain point Steve Kerr have to think about how many minutes he's playing him? Sure, but this is also a position scarcity thing. And by the way, the one thing that will change this, in my opinion, as it relates to Podziemski and his minutes, is when DeAnthony Melton comes back. And let me just share this with you, and then we'll hit a break. We'll come back, and we'll hear from Steve Kerr, who's addressed the media postgame, and we'll continue on here on Warriors Wrap-Up. DeAnthony Melton did not play today, hasn't played yet this year, but the Warriors did release this update on DeAnthony Melton as he continues to rehab from his ACL injury. He underwent ACL surgery early December last year after suffering the injury in November. There was a delay between when he suffered the injury and when he got the surgery because it was only a partial tear of his ACL, and there was a thought that maybe he would avoid the full ACL reconstruction surgery. He ultimately got it, but they delayed because they thought maybe he could be able to avoid it, but he was not able to avoid it. Anyway, here's the update from the Warriors today. Quote, he continues to make good progress. He has intensified his workouts in recent weeks, participating in practice and scrimmages with the Santa Cruz Warriors on multiple occasions. He will continue to be integrated in full practice and various scrimmages with the Warriors. He will be reevaluated again in 10 days. That is the update from the Warriors on DeAnthony Melton. Another update coming in 10 days as he continues to be reintegrated into full practice and various scrimmages with the Warriors. The last update was 3 weeks ago. Now we're waiting 10 days for the next update. So the update time has been cut in half. I would imagine the next time we get a Melton update, we might have a return date. It does seem like we are nearing that. It looks like it might be some point early to mid-December when he officially returns. When he does come back, if Podziemski continues to struggle, I do think that's where you will see minutes begin to chip away from Podziemski and go to Melton, among others. Part of the reason why I don't immediately blame Steve Kerr and I tend to just look at the player right now is I don't know what other options Steve Kerr has in terms of a player to fill that role. Maybe you say Pat Spencer, and hey, I'm with you. I thought Pat was the best Warrior player today. Other than that, I don't think there's a ton of other answers in terms of what Steve Kerr is looking to get out of that position. There's not a lot of other guys on the roster. Melton is that guy. Melton's not available yet. So until Melton's back, I have a hard time saying, Steve, this is your fault that Podziemski's playing poorly. I look more to the player. Now, is Steve coached a perfect season so far this year? No, of course not. I mean, there's plenty of things to be frustrated with about Steve Kerr. One of it was that 4-guard lineup they trotted out there last night in Orlando, which made no sense against a gigantic Orlando front line. I also think at some point you got to look Buddy Hield in the mirror, or Buddy Hield has to look himself in the mirror and say, I don't deserve to keep playing if I'm playing this way. Buddy put up, how many shots? 20 shots today to get 18 points, and he turned the ball over 4 more times. At some point, you got to stop playing Buddy Hield. Or at least play him one stretch. If he hits shots, keep him in. If he doesn't, bench him for the rest of the game. I don't know what else you can do with Buddy Hield at this point. That is an issue I have with Steve Kerr at this point as well. Okay, we got to take a break. Ted, I see you on hold. We will get to you when we come back. Warriors fall to the Heat. 110-96 is the final. Warriors 3-3 on the 6-game roadie. They are headed home to take on the Trailblazers coming up on Friday. Warriors now 9-8 on the season. Okay, time for a break. Back with more Warriors wrap-up. We will hear from Coach Kerr next as we continue. Mark Randy with you right here on 95.7 The Game.
What's your financial future look like? At Pettinelli Financial Partners, we help you shape it. Whether you're planning for retirement, buying a home, or saving for something special, our professionals are here to provide clear guidance and smart strategies. Visit PettinelliFP.com today and take the first step toward a more secure financial future. The financial consultants at Pettinelli Financial Partners are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratos and Pettinelli are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature-Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature-Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
You've got a big day, so you use Unstoppable Scent Boosters to give your laundry nonstop freshness. So no matter how long the day goes, you
can't stop this power, this walk, this pose, this strut, this look, this talk.
Your clothes will be so fresh you can confidently strut into that end of the day meeting like a
boss, 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 bosses. Let's talk business in my office.
Add new Unstoppables beads to your wash for 24-hour nonstop freshness so you can smell unstoppable.
He's the best interview in the Bay Area.
He looked like Steph Curry always has, so he still got it. I mean, I think the biggest thing when you're 37 is maintaining the level over the course of 82 games.
And he joins Willard and Dibbs every week during the NBA season.
We have a blueprint that everybody's feeling confident with.
Steve Kerr is presented by Great Clips. In sports, success is about team effort, and the same is true for your hair. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
The following is an attorney advertisement. If you get sidelined by your workplace injury, the workers' compensation attorneys at Boxer & Gerson can help you get back in the game. Our team of skilled attorneys will fight by your side for the treatment and compensation you deserve. We care about justice for injured workers. That's what makes us Northern California's premier workers' comp law firm. Call Boxer & Gerson at 510-835-8870 or visit boxerlaw.com for a free consultation. Boxer & Gerson, your life is worth the fight.
Ready for the ultimate red and gold game day? Laughing Monk Brewing is the place to park, party, and ride. Skip the traffic. Forget the expensive parking. Park for free and dive into an epic tailgate with mouth-watering food, ice-cold Laughing Monk beer, and every game on TV. Catch 95.7 The Game's pregame show with Lorenzo Neal and Evan Giddings. Then hop on the free shuttle minutes away from the stadium. Shuttles are first come, first serve. So head to 957thegame.com to sign up and join the party.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS to reach a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now, 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. That's Cars with a K to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's carsforkids.org.
Doors and loading dock equipment are a crucial part of your business, and one you probably don't think much about.
until they break. A broken door or dock leveler can be a real security threat, along with disturbing the flow of goods in your business. Luckily, RNS is here for all your commercial door, dock, and gate needs. From overhead doors and security shutters to fire-rated and personnel doors, RNS can provide your business with safety and security. Call 800-FIX-A-DOOR to schedule a free estimate or visit rsdoors.com. RNS Doors. Look for the red truck.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ-FM in HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always live on the free Odyssey app and now coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios.
Warriors with a silly turnover. Wiggins inside. Blocked by Santos from behind. The Brazilian whacks that one away as Spencer will take it up, crossing midcourt. On the far wing, here comes Post. Screen set. Spencer to Post. Back cut by Moody, a beauty, and he dunked it with the right hand. Moses Moody with a slam. A little elevation sensation for Moses Moody.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, welcome back. Mark Randy with you here on Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game. That highlight you just heard, it was the great Tim Roy calling a poster by Moses Moody. It was just one of his 3 made field goals. He was 3 for 12 from the field, 1 for 6 from downtown. Got to the line, made a couple. He finished with 9 points. And one of the issues with the Warriors, and this was also the case last night when the veterans played, Steph played, Jimmy played, Draymond played, Al Horford played. The Warriors' others, the secondary scorers, I guess really it's more tertiary scorers, and part of this is also without Kuminga. Kuminga, I think, is the Warriors' player that's most capable of being the third scorer behind Steph and behind Jimmy when he's playing well, absolutely. He's best equipped at doing that. I think he's shown the best ability to be the consistent double-digit scorer among any of the others, if that makes sense. One of the issues for the Warriors, even when they're healthy, and it's why they lost last night in Orlando, when you got 67 points combined from Steph and Jimmy, you don't have consistent offense anywhere else. And Moses Moody, we were so eager to sing his praises on Sunday versus the Pelicans when he scored a career-high 32 points, made 8 threes a career-high, made 7 of those 8 in the first quarter. Since then, in his next 2 games, he scored 15 points combined, and he's 5 for 18 from the field, 2 for 10 from deep. That's the life of the Warriors' others right now. It's similar for Podziemski, although Podziemski today scored 20, but it was an incredibly inefficient 20, much like the 18 from Buddy Hield was incredibly inefficient. Those two combined for 38 points on 39 shots. That's just not going to cut it, especially when there's no Steph and Jimmy. And by the way, if there was Steph and Jimmy, those two are not scoring 38 points because they're not getting 39 shots. Those two would get combined maybe closer to 15 shots, maybe 18 or 19 shots combined when you have Steph and Jimmy taking the majority of your shots. So the 38 points combined from Podziemski and Buddy, that's a fake. That's not a real 38 combined points. That's just because over the course of 48 minutes of basketball, you're going to score at least like 85 points. You're just going to fall into 85 points in today's NBA. Somebody's got to score those points. And today, the people scoring those points for the Warriors was Podziemski and Buddy Hield. So let's not get lost in their point totals. Those aren't like real and sustainable numbers. If they are real and sustainable for the Warriors, then they are in trouble because that means Steph and Jimmy are not playing a major amount of games. That's the only way those guys are getting that. Currently, the way they're playing, getting that many points is on an incredible size of value, and that's volume. And that's not what's happening for the Warriors as long as Steph and Jimmy are playing the majority of their games. And the Warriors so far are 1-3 in the 4 games Steph has missed. They're 0-2 in the 2 games that both Jimmy and Draymond have missed. Yeah. All right. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. As promised, let's go back out to the phone lines. Also, I see your text 510. I see you double texted 510. I'm going to get to what you said. It's a good question, and I want to talk about this as well. We will do that shortly, so hang out 510. But first, let's go out to the 415 because Ted wants to weigh in. What's up, Ted? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. What do you got?
Oh, happy to be here. I am not concerned with Pods at all, and he might be struggling a little bit, but the vision of him chasing down Chris Paul, blocking a shot, and then coming back and getting a layup on the other end was just still fresh in my memory to be worried about him. He's a perfect complementary player. And he should be expected to be inefficient when he's asked to step up into one of the leadership roles. My concern is the fact that all 3 of our big guns were out tonight, and it reminds me of 2020 or 2021 when Kerr was deliberately resting Steph and playing. When he did play, he played fewer minutes, and same with Draymond and Clay back then, and he was notoriously saying that he was not going to chase wins, and they ended up with an 8 or 9 in the play-in and got bounced because he didn't want to chase a few wins that would have got him a 5th or 6th seed, and so it would suck if that's what they decided he was going to do, is just intermittently play them when this should be the year they go all in, regardless of if they're they have some fatigue, because I haven't heard anybody saying that they're going to win 1, 2, 3 in a row now at their age. This is it. This is the year. This is the year where you should be, succumbing to load management, and this is the year you should be chasing wins. So I missed something on the injury report, but to rest all 3 of those guys when you lost the game last night and you're struggling to stay in the top 6 or even in a 7 or 8 seed, it just doesn't seem like a logical approach to wanting to do the best that you can with this very best last shot that this core nucleus has at winning another title that they could be happy to retire on if they wanted to. Yeah.
I hear you, Ted. I think there's probably specifically what you're talking about there at the end in terms of players missing time and Steve Kerr maybe pushing the minutes limits a little bit. I think there's probably a lot of Warrior fans out there that are driving home from a late night of work or whatever it is and nodding their head. I do think the chasing wins comment, I think you bring up and you don't have the context exactly right. From what I remember, Steve Kerr initially made that comment during the 2020 season when the Warriors, or it was no, you're right. It was the 2020-2021 season when the Warriors were without Klay Thompson that entire year. That was the Kelly Oubre experience year. It was James Wiseman's rookie year. And I directly remember Steve Kerr talking about it the following year when they won the championship. It was early in that season. I believe it was like November or December 2021 before they won the championship in 2022. And he was asked about, it must have been, I can't remember exactly. I might be able to go and find the date. I can't do it live on the air right now. I remember it happened on this station. It was an interview on our afternoon show here on 95.7 The Game, and he was asked about playing Steph major minutes in a game, and the question was essentially, you weren't really willing to do that last year, and you said, we're not chasing wins here because of whatever reason, but you are willing to chase wins now. And I remember Steve saying something along the lines of, we weren't great last year. We weren't a championship team last year. So I'm not going to play Steph 40 minutes trying to chase a win when I don't feel like it's worth it. Really, that was, I think, the insinuation. The difference was for Steve Kerr that following year was he thought they were a championship team. So they chased it. Now, maybe your response is, if Steve's not pushing the Warriors and Steph Curry's minutes this year, does he think that they're not a championship team? I would push back on say, well, I think he has been pushing Steph Curry for the most part. I mean, just look at Steph Curry's minutes yesterday. I have these. I have the box score printed out from yesterday. Let me just find it really quick. Steph Curry's minutes last night, 34 minutes and 13 seconds. That might not sound like a lot to you. That is more than Steve Kerr wants to play Steph Curry. And by the way, regardless of result last night, win or lose in Orlando, I guarantee you Steph was not playing tonight. Maybe the only way he would have played is if the Warriors dominated from the jump and Steph played 18 minutes. Maybe that's the only way he plays tonight. But if we're living in reality, that was never going to happen. I think it was pretty much set in stone from the jump. Oh, that game in Miami, final game of a 6-game trip. We've played 17 games in 30 days, 5 back-to-backs. It's happened in, I believe, 12 different cities. In our first 30 days of the season, 17 games in 30 days, 5 back-to-backs, 12 cities. Yeah, that Miami game, Steph, you ain't playing. We'll see on Jimmy and Draymond, but probably not you guys either. Definitely not Al, but definitely not Steph. And you found that out immediately when Steph talking postgame about how he tweaked his ankle. There might be something to that, but it's no coincidence that happens before this game. Like, I don't really think there's a way in which Steph played in this game. It might have been even decided on multiple weeks ago. I mean, this was initially supposed to be an ESPN game. Tonight's game, Warriors Heat. It was the ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader. I think it was the Rockets game earlier today that ultimately was the game 1 of that doubleheader. The game 2 is currently going on of that ESPN doubleheader. It's the Knicks and Mavericks in Dallas. Game 1 of the doubleheader was Houston-Cleveland. That used to not be that way. The Warriors game was initially scheduled to begin in Miami, 7:30 local time, 4:30 Pacific. It then got booted off of ESPN. Or pardon me, it was 7 p.m. in Miami time, local time, and 4 p.m. here. And then it got changed to 4:30 because it got booted off of ESPN. It was no longer a national television game. So Miami has their own just local broadcast start time and tip time. It got pulled off. Why did it get pulled off like 10 days in advance of this game? Maybe because, I'm just speculating, I don't know this, maybe because the Warriors called up the NBA and said, hey, by the way, it's unlikely that our guys are playing that night. So do with that what you will. Or maybe the NBA read the tea leaves and said, yeah, probably no Steph Curry that game. So I don't want to broadcast that game on ESPN when I can go to Dallas and see the Mavericks take on the Knicks. Although I think Cooper Flagg is he missing this game? I don't remember. Jalen Brunson is back for the Knicks. So that's just the state of the NBA today, which is it almost doesn't matter what game you go to. There's probably some star or multiple stars sitting out anyway. But I hear you, Ted. It is frustrating. But I'm just telling you, I think the Warriors are making a trade-off. Tonight's game was a trade-off. It was we are willing to accept a loss tonight. Not that it's a given, but it's a high likelihood of happening. We're willing to accept a loss tonight because we think it gives us a better chance in the future to win more basketball games. And that is the reality for a team that is so reliant on a 37-year-old Steph Curry and 2 other guys that are in their mid-30s. And another in Al Horford, they're less reliant on him, but they're still reliant on him, who's like 40. Like, that's the reality of the Warriors situation. So if that's your reality, you have to make tough decisions at certain times, and you got to say, Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, sorry, you're not playing tonight. And it sucks for the Warrior fans in Miami who traveled to Miami, who wanted to watch these guys play, but that's just what happens in today's NBA. And there was a lot of talk today about Steve Kerr's comments about the schedule and how the NBA, the way the game has developed, is making each game more physically demanding on players and the pace of play, which ups the possessions per game, which increases the load, the number of miles that these guys travel every game and the energy they expend. And also these guys are all much better athletes now than back in the day. They're asking so much more of their athletes, while also you have a bigger schedule with the play-in and the in-season tournament, the NBA Cup, and you've expanded the season length. It was already the longest regular season in American sports, and it got longer. Steve Kerr will say part of it is because our guys are 37, 35, and 35. Steve Kerr will also say it's because the NBA season is too damn taxing, and the NBA is too busy filling their pockets with the money they make over the course of the 82-game regular season to care. That's what Steve Kerr will say. Whatever you think, it's the reality of the situation. And it results in the fans losing out because the regular season is watered down and your star players play in fewer games. It's just the reality of today's NBA. So I get the frustration. Trust me, I'm frustrated as well. I circled this game as one I wanted to do Warriors wrap-up for because I thought it's Jimmy's return to Miami part 2. And not only did Jimmy not play, but Steph didn't play, and Draymond didn't play, and Kuminga's still out, and Al Horford didn't play. It is what it is. That's the reality of today's NBA. Anyway, enough about that. Let's hear Steve Kerr, who addressed the media postgame in Miami. Warriors lose to the Heat. 110-96 is the final score. Warriors down Steph, down Jimmy, down Dre, down JK, down Al Horford. Yet they had a 2-point lead going into the fourth. Then Miami runs away with it in the fourth quarter, outscoring the Warriors 38-22. 23 Warrior turnovers. The big negative in the box score, I guarantee you, Steve Kerr will be talking about that. Here he is, Warriors coach Steve Kerr, postgame in Miami.
Seems like, you guys competed for a few quarters, kind of faded down the stretch. How do you view this performance?
Really proud of the guys for the effort, the fight. I thought Bam and Norm took over the game the last 5 minutes, but we hung in there. A couple stretches of the game where we went cold really hurt us, and then the turnovers, we had maybe 4 of them, like where they pressured us on inbounds, and we weren't able to get the ball up the floor cleanly. Those possessions really hurt, and give Miami credit. They put a lot of pressure on us.
I know these turnovers aren't necessarily related to who you guys are, longer term as a team, but how concerned are you about just the overall turnover situation that you guys have, and how, as you go into a week with a lot of practice, how much will you handle that?
I'm very, very confident that we will get that turned around. We got it turned around last year after we got Jimmy. Got our turnovers way back. So that's going to be the focus when we get home. We're 8-0 when we win the turnover battle, and I think 1-8 when we don't. So it's pretty clear cut. We have to do a better job of as coaches of giving the guys better, spacing and cutting and teaching it better so that the decisions become easier. And then they've got to do a better job of just making simple decisions.
This was the 17th game in 29 days. Is there a sense of relief or solace knowing that the schedule is going to lighten up at some point? You get 5 coming up at home.
Well, there would be, except we have a game in 48 hours against Portland. So it's not like we have a break, but we do get to go home, and that's the big thing. We've only had 5, home games out of the first 17. So the schedule does turn our way, but we need to take advantage of it. We've got to get better.
Are there any data points that you feel like you collected on this 6-game trip as a group?
Well, there's plenty of data. There's plenty of film. I was just most pleased with, after that OKC game, just felt like our level of fight and competition was where it needed to be. And so we were able to, obviously split the 6 games on the trip coming off that beatdown in OKC. And so I like where we are now, better as a team, but we have a lot of work to do.
Steve, to that point, you were saying the other night in New Orleans that the sign of a connected team is like when Jimmy had the wide open layup, but he passed it to Steph to score. Could you also say that when you have a night like this where the veteran guys don't play, that especially Steph and Jimmy seem like throughout the game were connected to the other guys, talking to them?
Sure.
Does that do something for the group when everybody is pulling
for sure
in a night like this?
Yeah, I could feel, Steph and Jimmy on the sidelines. I felt their presence. At the meeting today, those two guys were giving advice, and I mean, that's really important for our guys to feel the support of their vets on a night like tonight when those guys are out and the young guys are the ones out on the floor fighting. And we're a connected team. We've got a good vibe, good group. Like I said, we've got some improvement to make on the floor, and that's the main thing.
Coach, what do you think is the solution with the problem with so many games? I mean, to avoid things like tonight, you have to bench key players. Where is the solution? Playing?
I wish I knew. Yeah.
A shorter season, maybe a shorter regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that the other night, but I don't think that's happening. So maybe extending the season by a week, just a calendar to fit the 82 games into an extra week. I don't know if that's something that would help, but it's a lot for sure. But that's what it is. So everybody's dealing with the same issue.
All right, that's Steve Kerr post-game in Miami tonight after the Warriors fell to the Heat 110-96. The Warriors now 9-8 on the season tonight. A entirely understandable loss because you're without Steph, without Jimmy, without Draymond, without Jonathan Kuminga, without Al Horford. The Warriors, though, had a chance to win this basketball game. They led by 2 after 3 quarters. Then they completely fell apart in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter was 38-22 in favor of Miami. The Warriors committed 7 turnovers in the first 7 minutes of the fourth quarter, committed 2 more the final 5 minutes, 9 turnovers in the fourth, 23 on the game, led to 34 Heat points, and that was a conversation, a topic of conversation with Steve Kerr postgame right there, as you just heard here on 95.7 The Game. The Warriors, though, they do get to return home. They got 5 games at home coming up, by far their longest homestand of the season to this point. Kind of crazy. We're 17 games in. We are just about exactly a month into the season. The Warriors opened the season in LA versus the Lakers on Tuesday, October 21st. It is now Wednesday, November 19th. So nearly a month. Just for the sake of keeping it clean, let's just say the season has been on for a month. The longest homestand for the Warriors, 2 games, Memphis and the Clippers, and that was a back-to-back. The longest the Warriors have been able to stay at home, like play a game at home and then stay without having to board a flight, that was after the Indiana loss, which was the really rough 2-game road trip in Milwaukee in Indiana. They then had 2 days off after that Indiana game. Got to travel home, play Phoenix a couple of days after. They played Indiana on Saturday. They had Sunday, Monday off, played Phoenix at home Tuesday, then played Sacramento in Sacramento on Wednesday. That's a game where I think you could stay at a hotel in Sac if you wanted. Otherwise, you could travel to and from yourself. I don't know exactly what was happening there that night, but that was the longest the Warriors had just straight days in a row at home. And it was travel home, I would imagine, from Indiana on, Sunday morning after the Saturday night game. You get to sleep in your bed Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, then travel to Sacramento to play a game that day. Since, other than that, the Warriors haven't really been at home much at all. Their 2-game homestand was a back-to-back, and that 1 game at home where they had a couple of days off ahead of it was followed up by a game the next day in Sacramento. So it has not been a lot of home cooking for the Warriors. It has been play a game, fly, play a game, fly, play a game, fly, play a game, fly. And I know what a lot of people out there will say. They'll say, well, you're paid millions of dollars a year and you fly on all these, great planes and you've got everything set up for you. They've got meals for you. You're not flying commercial and you're not sitting back in economy class. Like, of course, this is elevated travel. There's no doubt, but that takes a toll, especially when you've got a roster that is full of 37 and 35-year-olds. So not an easy thing. All I will say is the Warriors return home. They have 5 games at home: Portland, Utah, Houston, New Orleans, and OKC. 4 on the road, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Chicago, and Phoenix. Back at home for 3, Phoenix, Orlando, and Dallas. And then I want to jump ahead to this portion of the season. The new year, when the calendar flips to 2026, this is the Warriors' opportunity to get fat. They have, over the course of almost the entire month of January, the first 3 months of January, they play, how many games is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games from January 2nd to January 20th. 10 are at home. The 1 game on the road is in LA versus the Clippers. You do not leave the state of California in the month of January until a game in Dallas on January 22nd. So for every stretch like the Warriors are currently in, you have like an equally nice stretch. That is the Warriors' equally nice stretch. That's an opportunity for them to get fat. And what's coming up next for the Warriors is an opportunity to just win some games at home, even though they still kind of are coming fast and furious at this point. And home has been a godsend for the Warriors. The Warriors now, with today's loss in Miami, are 9-8 on the season. They're 4-8 away from home and 5-0 at home. Overall, let's just take a look before we get on out of here tonight. If you want to weigh in anything else really quick, feel free to call in. We'll get you on 888-957-9570. But this is kind of a cutoff point, in my opinion, in the Warriors season. 17 games, 30 days, 12 cities. You're 9-8. I set out, kind of seeing how compressed this portion of the Warriors schedule was, and you have this nice cutoff point after the 6-game road trip. 17 games. I said the Warriors should aim to be 10-7. If you're 10-7, you can feel good about yourself. 9-8 is 1 game shy of that. And the Warriors had multiple opportunities to get that 10th win. It could have been Milwaukee without Giannis. It could have been Indiana without like 3 of their starters. It could have been last night in Orlando. Could have been tonight, but we all knew that was probably a long shot given the Warriors' absences and with Steph and Jimmy and Draymond and others not playing. You had 3 options, really. It was Milwaukee, it was Indiana, and it was Orlando. You failed all 3 of those. So you're 9-8 as a result. 1 game shy of what I thought their goal should be, which, isn't great. It's also not the end of the world. It's 1 game difference. But 12 of your first 17 games have been on the road. You're 4-8 on the road, and you have your next 5 games at home. Considering everything, the Warriors are not in a terrible position, in my opinion. It doesn't feel great because they've lost 2 games in a row, and they really are struggling away from home. But I'm just telling you, you got through this without major injuries. You got through this with a above 500 record. There's no other stretch of the Warriors season that is as difficult as this. Does not mean that they're going to win 55 games still. I still feel good about, we kind of have a friendly on-air wager in the afternoon show with Willard and Dibbs. I said over 47.5 wins for the Warriors this year. I still feel good about that. Being 9-8 instead of 10-7 in the first 17 does not change my opinion on that proposition. Does not mean you're going to win at an incredibly high rate just because the schedule is more favorable, but it does give you a better chance. So we'll see how it all plays out. I think the larger point is just 9-8 through 17, given what the 17 games have been, you can work with that. It is not the end of the world, in my opinion. Okay, before I get out of here, I didn't want to, I almost forgot to mention what the 510 texted on the Boxer and Gerson Rookie Injury Attorneys text line. The 510 asked, and he asked a couple of times, and you can keep spamming it if I mention it and forget to get to it entirely, as I almost just did there. The 510 asked, what about Seth Curry? Any updates on Seth Curry? It's a very good question, 510, because we can all do the math. I did it. The reason why Seth was not a Warrior to begin this season was because the veteran minimum contract, which he agreed to with the Warriors, did not quite fit under the second apron. And the Warriors are hard capped at the second apron because of the mid-level exception they used to sign Al Horford. You use that exception, it hard caps you at a certain number. The number is not important. All you need to know is, given the Warriors' current money being paid out to their players this year, they only have X amount of money before they, based on the rules of the league, cannot go any higher. And the Seth Curry vet minimum contract full season vet minimum contract did not fit under that second apron requirement that the league has imposed on the Warriors as a result, again, of using that mid-level exception on Al Horford. So what the Warriors were going to do, and what they're still going to do, as far as I know, was wait for enough of the season to pass by until the prorated amount for Seth Curry's veteran minimum contract was able to fit under that second apron, thereby allowing the Warriors to sign him to that prorated contract and bring him in. That date has passed. That date was something like November 12th or 13th. I forget the exact date. All you need to know is it has passed. The Warriors can sign Seth Curry any day now. I don't know exactly why they haven't. I expect to get an update on it soon. Steve Kerr was asked this week on this station about it, and he said no comment. He didn't want to comment on a player that's not technically on his roster. Sometimes coaches get into trouble for that, so he did not want to talk about it. I don't think there's anything fishy going on. I think it will happen. My read on the situation is the longer the Warriors wait, the more flexibility they have for other moves. Because the every dollar counts when you're up against, the second apron or any apron. You're up against a line that you cannot pass. Every dollar is meaningful. The longer the Warriors wait, the more little wiggle room that they have. So they're probably weighing the pros and cons of how much is it worth it to have Seth on the roster right now, or is it worth more to have that little bit more flexibility when it comes to having a little bit more room. So not so you can go and sign somebody else, but maybe it impacts trades, how much money you can take back, all that. So I don't know. The short answer is I don't know when they're going to sign Seth Curry. They can do it at any time. I expect it's going to happen relatively soon. But there's no updates from the Warriors specifically on Seth Curry just yet. We will see how it all plays out. I do expect it to happen pretty soon because they could use him. Not that he's going to play 30 minutes a night, but a good shooter, space the floor a little bit, come off the bench, play 12 minutes a night. It could be helpful for the Warriors. There's no doubt. And plus, DeAnthony Melton's on his way back. Probably going to see him at some point in December. So we will see how that all plays out. Okay, that'll do it for Warriors Wrap-Up tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Up next for the Warriors, Friday versus the Portland Trailblazers. And that is an NBA Cup game, by the way. NBA Cup on Friday. That game tips off at, let me scroll back up. I went all the way down to January in my schedule. Tips off at 7 as expected, which means Warriors Live is at 6. Evan Giddings has you covered for Warriors Live on Friday at 6. Live from Chase Center in an NBA Cup game. If you are a fan of the NBA Cup and want the Warriors to win the Cup, this is essentially a must-win game because they lost in Denver in blowout fashion. The tiebreaker in the Cup standings is point differential. The Warriors are behind the 8 ball in point differential. Despite being 1-1 in the Cup, they're minus 24 in differential because they beat the Spurs by 1 in a Cup game. They lost to the Nuggets by 25. So if they are to advance through the group stage of the Cup, they have to do it on the merits of their record and their record alone. You play 4 Cup games. The Warriors have played 2. They need to win their next 2 and go 3-1 in the Cup, really, to have any kind of chance to advance. Maybe, though, you don't want the Warriors to advance in the Cup. I don't really blame you because if they advance in the Cup, there's a chance that they play extra basketball games. And given everything we've talked about tonight, and given that Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, Al did not play tonight, fewer games, or at least avoiding more games, probably is a good thing for the Warriors. So we'll see how it all plays out. You, of course, don't want to lose to Portland purposefully. You want to win, especially at home, and keep up your winning ways at home where the Warriors are undefeated at 5-0. We'll see how it all plays out. That's not the conversation for today. It is, though, an NBA Cup game coming up on Friday from Chase Center. Okay, that'll do it for Warriors Wrap-Up. Thank you so much for tuning in. For my guy, Cam Williams, for Steven Risotto behind the glass as well. My name is Mark Raney signing off. Thank you so much for tuning in. Warriors lose tonight in Miami, 110-96. More Warriors basketball coming up on Friday, as always, right here on 95.7 The Game.
It's ridiculous to watch. All right, so I'm done with that. But I still believe in them, yes.
All right, hey, really quick. Joe Burrow, practice window is open. Are we going to see him play? Or are the Bengals going to say, yeah, I don't know so much?
God, I hope so. I mean, like the Joe Flacco story is kind of cool. And, the Flacco's pretty funny. The going to dinner quote was pretty funny. That's made for an entertaining year. But God, don't you just want to see good quarterbacks? This is what